Go.
Hello, hello. Ignat Czuczek, Portal Games.
And this is the Podfather of Gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 191, and we're recording this on April 16th, 2021. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And Ignacy, did you know that the U.S. Congress has mandated the Department of Defense of the United States to release all documents and videos that they have regarding UFOs by June 21st? By June of this year, 2021. That's true. So Ignacy, the truth is out there. And you know what that truth will be? Tom Vassell is an extraterrestrial. This is the only explanation for the guy. It's true. Okay, well, the first part was true. We're going to find out a little bit more about what they know about extraterrestrials and UFOs and stuff. But maybe Tom. We'll see.
That's very interesting, and I guess we don't have a time to go into politics, but it is really interesting that the Senate can ask the Department of Defense to release some confidential data, because in the long run, this is important for the protection of the country. So it is interesting that they force them to give the details.
They're allowed to release stuff, and certain things, if it's still classified, they can redact it. They can block it out. They can say portions of this have been redacted, but they're supposed to.
Of course, we all want to know about the UFO, but what's the reasoning for the Senate to say, some secret stuff and it's confidential, but the people need to know? What's the reasoning?
The reason is because there's been some recently, over the last like 6 or 8 years, something like that. There's been some very high profile UFOs, and by the way, they call them UAPs now, unidentified aerial phenomenon. Who knows why they changed the name? So there's some high profile UAPs that, like, US fighter jets were scrambled off of an aircraft carrier to follow these things that came into the aircraft carrier's space, because they keep a space around them. All of a sudden they get these things on radar, and they took pictures of them, and for whatever reason these videos got into the public domain. And I don't know, they look good, they look interesting, but we're gonna see. That's why. So like now people are saying, like, is there something? Now it doesn't have to be extraterrestrial. It could simply be that there's other governmental things going on, right? I mean, enemies of the state could be having things that we don't know about. So they want to know about this, and then they'll budget to do something for it. So that's the reason for the whole thing.
So message, because it's a Board Games Insider, the message for all listeners: if you plan to run a Kickstarter campaign for June, there may be other big news in June that will steal your thunder. Just keep it in mind.
The truth is out there, baby. All right, Ignacy has a long intro. Tell us. Oh, by the way, there's going to be some exciting contest news coming up in the event deck. It's a little preview. Ignacy, first, tell us about what's happening inside of Portal Games.
We start today's section with important announcement, and this is very important. I was busy for the past few weeks doing Robinson Crusoe Collector's Edition campaign, and Stephen was busy doing vacations and holidays and all these lazy stuff. So we didn't notice that there are Golden Geek Awards nominations taking place already, and we forgot to mention that. We forgot to ask you to vote for us. We screw up the whole campaign, and for the past year I was hoping we will win the award, and now we even forget about the nomination. So when this podcast drops, it is too late already. We screw this another year.
I think that people, because they're watching Board Game Geek, they will have seen this, and I've seen some people already nominating us. So let's see. Hopefully we get the nomination. Let's hope we get that nomination. But if it's still up, I don't know when do the nominations end? Do they end?
Day before we drop the podcast.
Oh, if we don't get nominated, there's going to be a couple of very disappointed people in this world, like me and you. All right.
And hopefully we get about this for many weeks.
That's right.
Back to the serious stuff, news of the week. I teased that a few episodes ago. As we are speaking, it is not yet announced, but it will be announced when the podcast drops. So once again, time challenge. Portal Games acquires a Polish game publisher called Stork Games. So this is a small acquisition that happened here in Poland that I was teasing a few weeks ago.
Sounds
Stork
great.
Games, yes, Stork Games is a Polish publisher who was an official publisher for Polish market for the Spanish publisher Ludonova, who makes a great games, and the Dutch publisher Queen the Game. So they were representing these two companies and bringing these games to Polish market, and we just acquired them, and they are now part of Portal Games, and we will continue this line and release a couple of very exciting titles for Polish market. So I'm very, very happy. So the bottom line is, Asmodee, I'm going after it. Small steps, baby steps, but it's happening.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Of course, is a huge and very interesting news in Poland. It doesn't matter that much for American audience.
I could swear I had this. I could swear I had this as one of my predictions. Well, we'll check that out later in the year.
Brag of the week, of course, had to be Robinson Crusoe Collector's Edition, funding $2.7 million. Amazing success, and this is for sure the brag of the year for Portal Games. Very proud for the whole achievement for my whole team. I recorded a dedicated special video explaining that, as always, I'm the face of the company. I'm the guy who is in the camera, who's doing vlogs, etc., etc. But there's a ton of people behind the success. So kudos to everybody. We were very, very proud when everything funded. And once again, thank you for the support. Yep.
Really, really well done. Congratulations. $2.7 million is a great campaign for a great game. You got me sucked in. I saw those Sundrop painted painted miniatures with it's sort of like a wash they put on them, and I'm like, I got to do this. So you got me at the top level.
I appreciate that.
Jerk. Yeah, you got me. So I went all in on it. Beautiful. It looks beautiful. Congratulations. And by the way, don't tell me about stress. So before the show, he said he wasn't feeling good the other day. He thinks it was too much stress. Don't tell me when you make $2.7 million, you don't. No, take it easy. You just relax. Have another cup of tea and just relax.
There was a lot of pressure, of course, but we are now very, very happy. And once again, if I can have this a few more seconds, we discuss over and over again about evergreens, about the classics. So about 30 or 40% of the pledges were from the people who own Robinson Crusoe, who came back and they had a chance to upgrade the game they already have. So this shows how strange the game is, and this is very important for every publisher to have evergreen. So thank you all the fans who love the game and who supported the campaign again. Pre-orders and street dates. Egyptian Kings and Vienna Connection is scheduled for May 27th. Just before this recording, I had a Skype with Luke, Portal Games Director of Operation for America, and he said, Ignacy, they should be in the port today. I will brief you on Monday. So if they will be in the port, because as we all know, there is a lot of problems these days in the ports, but on Monday, I should have a final data, and hopefully we have it for May 27th. From the HQ, bad news. COVID once again hit Portal Games. The whole company is shut down at this very moment. We have 3 confirmed cases of COVID, so 3 of my employees had a positive test. Unfortunately, they are all young people, so there is no stress. They're fine, but of course, it's a very, very difficult situation for the whole company. I keep my fingers for them to be well, but they are well, so no worries. And once again, don't believe in stupid person telling you that there is no COVID. There is a COVID, is a serious disease, and please be safe and please vaccinate if you have an opportunity to do that. And my last piece of news video of the week, I recorded how to balance board games. I hope it is interesting for you, so check it out on my YouTube channel. We record the live every Monday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And this Monday, I recorded how to balance board games, and I was discussing different methods, different strategies, different mistakes that designers do when balancing games. So I hope it is interesting for everybody who is listening to Board Games Insider. That was a big part of the show today, Portal Games. Many things happened. How's your renovation process? Because I remember the news about you preparing for that, and I cannot wait for updates.
It's yeah. I mean, the preparation for the remodeling is still in progress. I'd rather talk about the remodeling once it actually gets going. But right now, it's like literally, like as soon as this is up, Paul is mad at me for like doing the podcast this morning because we're supposed to like go out and go to another store to look at more things. Because you got to like, she's like project managing. She's got a spreadsheet of like 100 lines. Like you get faucets for the bathroom, get, which tile grout color are we picking? It's like crazy, but more happening on that. The project, the actual demolition portion of the project won't start for another 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or so. There'll be plenty of headaches during that. But the good stuff that I've been doing this week, I did an epically fun thing. So I received the just released from Ares Games, which I purchased, pre-ordered a year ago or more, the Battle of the Five Armies, The Hobbit Collector's Edition. So everybody knows my love of the War of the Ring Collector's Edition, which was from Ares Games like 10 years ago. Now they did something similar for their game, The Battle of the Five Armies, which obviously is thematically related to all of Tolkien lore. The game is gorgeous. So I do a 45-minute, hopefully that's not too long, but you can fast forward through certain portions, detailed unboxing of this, where I'm going to show you all the miniatures in the game, and there are 126 fully painted miniatures, show you all of the components, all the cards. I mean, not every like individual card, but I'm going to show you the entire game, show you that amazing box they put it in. Not quite the wooden box of War of the Ring, but a gorgeous, gorgeous box that they did. So that was my big project for the week with my wonderful video editing skills, which I do not have. So don't expect Dice Tower or Portal Games quality video editing, but I think you'll get a great feel for not only the game and the way this thing looks, but my passion for that subject matter and this game and how it relates, obviously, over to the War of the Ring. So go over to my YouTube channel, please. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and check out the Battle of the Five Armies of The Hobbit, the Collector's Edition unboxing video. I sounded like a 15-year-old girl at portions because I was like, look at this. I was like squealing over some of the miniatures. The Bjorn miniature, the guy, the shape shifter, he goes from a human type to a bear. The miniature is amazing. The Eagles miniatures are just incredible. So you'll get a chance to see them all and see me squealing about the whole thing. So that was my big thing. I also continue to plan my my post-COVID vaccination trips that I'm taking. I will be, by the time this drops, I'll be 100% vaccinated. Then waiting for that small period of time, 2 weeks later, you kind of get all the immunity from it. So right after that, the demolition is going to start here, and I'm leaving just to go a little bit far away from here, just because they got to do a lot of work in the house without me being here. So the cat and I are moving into my brother's house. Which is pretty close to here. And Paul is going back to New Jersey to see her mother and do some work there. But then I'm planning I got a Vegas trip planned. I'm hopefully going out to Napa Valley. We're going to see about that one. But I'll keep everyone posted on that renovation and hopefully show some pictures and things like that, because it's going to be a really beautiful thing in the end. And of course, looking forward to the convention season starting up with the Gathering of Friends being the first one, and then Gen Con, shortly thereafter. We'll keep everyone posted on all of those. In the meantime, let's get to the event deck. So as I hinted at in our beginning of the show, we're coming up on our 200th episode. Wow. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And especially over the last 2 years plus, we've been doing one per week. So we've really accelerated a number of these episodes that we've done. So we want to run a contest. We did one for the 100th episode. Let's do one for the 200th episode. And we'll remind you every week from now until then to take an action on this. But here's what you got to do to enter the contest. First, in the thread on Board Game Geek that we talk about all the time, where we get the questions, where it says, post a question to possibly be read on the podcast. If you post a question on there, you get one entry into our contest. It's got to be a good question. You can't ask me, boxers or briefs. I'll tell you right now, it's boxer briefs. But you can't ask me what our favorite color is or something silly like that. Ask a good question. I mean, it could be something off topic too, but make it relevant. Like, what's your favorite, type of house? Or I don't know. Something personal about the two of us, but of course, about the companies, and about gaming, always the better part because we can really take those kind of questions for the audience. So first thing, one entry if you post a question in the correct thread on Board Game Geek. And we're going to give you a second entry if you record a video or audio and post it on Twitter or Facebook with the hashtag Board Games Insider. Okay? That's easy. You get your phone out, record a video or an audio, and you make it something like, thanks, Ignacy and Steven, whatever you want to say for the great show, hashtag Board Games Insider. And if it's funny, I might even like give it more credibility. But that gives you the second entry into the contest. Then at random, we're going to give away one game to one of those people. If we're nominated for the Golden Geek Award, Golden Geek for Best Podcast, 2 games will be given away. And if we win the Golden Geek Award, 4 games are going to be given away. Of course, only nominations are available now. They're over. Let's see if we're nominated. But if we win, and we'll tell you about to vote for that, 4 games. All right, everybody. We'll keep reminding you about this, but go do this thing. Meanwhile, we've got some interesting news from a couple of, companies in our industry. The first one, a small company, right? We always think of Stonemaier Games as one of us, small company. Well, guess what? Jamie Stegmaier releases every year. He does this again. One of the few companies who's privately held that release their financials every year, and he released them for 2020, and they are astonishingly good. So Stonemaier Games sales were up 40% in 2020. 2 games and 2 expansions planned for 2021. So let me read the whole article. Stonemaier Games had another very successful year in 2020 with sales up 40% to just short of $18 million, $17.9 million US dollars from $12.8 million in 2019, which was a great year too. Founder Jamie Stegmaier reported in the company's annual report to stakeholders. I mean, he's the only true stakeholder, but I guess all of the gamers he believes are his stakeholders. That's an increase in growth rate. The company's sales grew 33% in 2019 and then 40% this year. So just astronomical growth. The sales came from 1 new game, Pendulum, 5 expansions or ancillary products, My Little Scythe, Pie in the Sky, Wingspan Neoprene Playmats, Scythe Complete Rulebook, Tapestry, Plans Employees, and Wingspan Oceania expansion, and strong sales from the back catalog. The company's top seller was Wingspan. Stonemaier sold, get this, 447,150 copies of the $60 game in 2020, according to the lifetime numbers sold this year and last year. Evergreen title Scythe was number 2 in sales with 73,000 copies. New release Pendulum sold 35,000 copies. These are tremendous numbers, Ignacy, on any level. Numbers that you or I mean, frankly, would love to see. I mean, we never published our sales, but an overall sales number of $18 million easily puts Stonemaier Games. There's Asmodee and there's everybody else. And then in the everybody else category, there's that second tier where you belong and I belong with Indie Game Studios, or what did belong. This puts him at the top of that second tier, or right up there. With Cephalofair Games, certainly, who did $13 million in one project this year, but they only do a very few projects. $18 million in revenue is significant. Ignacy?
Yeah, mind-blowing, absolutely. And the perception of Stonemaier Games is this is just Jamie, this is a small company, and they do 1 game per year, like this indie publisher. Let's say the once again very, very, very clearly. It doesn't mean that other publishers make twice as much or 5 times more, because this is just Jimmy. He's just one employee. This is one of the best results in the indie board gaming and every other publisher would love to have these numbers. We mentioned many times how much Spiel des Jahres helped to sell games. Jamie is extremely open with the numbers. Super respect for that. If he can next year give us more details about how much of these numbers come from the German market for Wingspan. Like I'm eager to see if from these 400,000 copies, if it is 50 or 70 or 100,000 copies in Germany, because Spiel des Jahres makes a difference for sure. But of course, and this is very interesting part that is mentioned in this article, and his back catalog. So when we look back at the Jamie Stegmaier, most of his games are very, very good sellers. This whole evergreen concept and Sight and Wingspan, and I didn't see Pendulum being very popular this year. Like it went under the radar, I would say, in the perception. If I look at the Instagram, if I look at the Twitter, I don't see many people playing this game. But his back catalog is so strong. His other games are so powerful. That these are the numbers. The numbers are amazing, and amazing is that he shared it with us. And now everybody can compare his numbers with Simon numbers.
Yes,
and very interesting comparison.
And that's a very good point, because Simon must report their annual revenue and, in fact, their profits. So, oh, by the way, so just to make it clear, while Jamie did $17.9 million in revenue, that is not his net profit. His net profit will be probably in the single-digit millions, but a high single-digit millions. He's done very well.
But this a few weeks ago, when Steven was reporting on Simon and the reports about them, and one of these very interesting quotes from their press release was that their loss in the past year was due to the COVID times, very difficult for the board game market, and blah 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 blah. And then you see the report from Jamie, who says this COVID time we increased our sales by 40% because everybody was sitting at home buying games and playing games. So these two press releases, extremely interesting to compare.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have a good year, you blame it on COVID. If you do have a good year, you blame it on COVID. So it is interesting. Congratulations again to you, Jamie, because he's just that nice of a person, and he's done a great job with not only his own internal titles, but with picking amazing games as well. So I can't give him enough props on the whole thing. It's wonderful to see good people doing great in the industry. Congratulations to Jamie. Next one is a very small publisher and good friend of the podcast and of mine, who's out of Belgium, Eric Hanus. I'm sure that I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Of Flatlined Games, he has started a YouTube channel titled Board Game Publisher, where he promises to, quote, publish videos about all aspects of the board game publishing trade: sourcing, development, manufacturing, logistics, marketing, regulations, DTP and pre-press, and the list goes on. He's thought of taking the plunge. If you've thought of taking the plunge, he continues to write, or have already, perhaps some of these videos would be of interest to you. In his first video, one of his first videos I thought was great. He says, "You really want to be a board game publisher?" And he challenges the notion of starting a company, not to completely dissuade you of doing so, but to say, hey, if this is something you're going to do, just make sure you take into consideration all of the issues that you're going to have and the financials of doing so. You have to keep these in mind. It's sort of like the problems that a lot of early Kickstarter publishers, right? Publishers who only use Kickstarter were having. They would say, oh yeah, if we get to the next stretch goal, we're going to add this and the next. And they added so much that they lost money on the project. Steve Jackson Games, for instance, lost money on their $1 million raise when they did Ogre. They did their big production of Ogre. A $970,000 raise in Kickstarter, lost money. And that project is still continuing to cost them money because they promised to then do this and do this and do this, things that we're going after. So this is a great thing. Eric is a great guy. We've worked with him in the past at Stronghold Games and published Steamrollers with him, for instance. Check out his channel. I highly recommend it. And I'm sure he's going to love the fact that I give him a shout out here.
Yeah, and I strongly recommend we are doing Board Games Insider when we teach how the industry works. I do my vlog and my YouTube channel every Monday. Eric is doing his vlog. I strongly believe the more people understand how the hobby works, what's the behind the scenes mechanism of the industry, there is less hate in the internet, less complaining on the publishers, less complaining on the designers. If you guys understand how the industry works, you will see that we struggle, we work hard. There are some things that we cannot, change. And the more understanding, less complaining in the internet. So that's why I'm on my crusade to educate fans, and I strongly support everybody who does the same.
Very, very good, Ignacy. Thank you. The next one talks about, and Ignacy, you found this post on Board Game Geek by somebody independent who just created a games chart of the number of new releases in the game industry, basically the number of entries into Board Game Geek that had a given date associated with it. So this is hard data because all of the games get put in there, right? A game that somebody created in their basement gets put in there, as well as one that sells 200,000 units in its first year. And it shows a meteoric rise in the number of games, as we know, that have been published year over year. Particularly, it really starts to ramp up tremendously just after 2000, and the growth gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And I'm looking at this graph, and it looks like the peak of total of the most games released was 2019 with 7,194 games released. In 2020, sort of as we expected, a little bit less were released, which is the first time less were released, I think, over that entire time, 6,368 games. And 2021, while obviously we're just started and a lot of games haven't been put in there yet, only 2,621. I'm sure that number is going to go up dramatically by the end of the year, but we'll see if it hits 2020 or not. Ignacy, I think we're geniuses because we did predict that we would see a decrease in total number of games released starting very soon. And it looks like last year was that time, and it makes 100% sense.
This graph, this is a solid data that backs up our podcast and everything we say here. It's true. And on a serious note, yes, so there's so many questions asked, and we and Steven are answering them every week. And we say, these days the market is so crowded, it is so much competition, it is really hard for you to start a game company. It was easier 10 years ago. When you look at these numbers, look how many games was released in 2009 and how many games was released in 2019. 2009, I am basically starting my international career with releasing Stronghold, the base game in 2009. Steven is starting the whole company, and year 2009, how many games? 3,000? Yes, 2008. 100, right? So less than 3,000. In 2019, it's 7,200. So it more than doubles. Yes.
Exactly.
That's why how it changes. Why it's so difficult to compete. This is so difficult to get your title out, to get the word about your title out, and these numbers are breathtaking. If we discuss there was 7,000 games released in 2019, tell me how many games there was released per day. I have my one.
Hey,
I'm doing it right now.
Hey Siri, what is 7,194 divided by 365? Oh, it's just she didn't do it. I hate Siri.
20 games per day. Every day there's 20 new games.
Please write that down. I hate Siri. She hates me. She never listens to me.
20 I went per almost day. Analog. I was almost analog.
So here's just so we're gonna move on in a second. But if you think so, in 2019 here, which is the peak, 7,200. Let's just say 7,200 in 2019. We'll go back 10 years. 1,300. So think of that number change. We go back 10 more years to I did that wrong. I'm sorry. 10 years would be 3,300. So like less than half. And then 10 more years, you go back to 1999, 1,300. So it's like it more than doubled. It more than doubled. I mean, amazing growth in hobby gaming. So thank you all for helping out, but you can see how crowded this market is and how difficult it is to stay above that noise that's out there.
Yep.
So this is maybe my favorite article of all time. It comes from, and of course it comes from a heavy duty business publication, Bloomberg Business Week. I mean, this is like, the Wall Street Journal level of business. This is what they specialize in. And just 3 days ago, they put an article out called "The Company Quietly Building a Board Game Empire with Catan, Pandemic, and Ticket to Ride. Strategy and cooperative board games have big adult fan bases. The little known Asmodee has cornered the market with a series of acquisitions since 2007. So this is so funny. I mean, we talk about Asmodee in one completely different way, and they're saying like this company is quietly building a board game empire and their little known company. Well, I guess to people who follow the financial markets and they think about like the oil market and the technology markets, board games, hobby games, what is this thing, right? And so they're reporting on Asmodee and how they have built this company and their sales, which get reported on one level or another. They don't get reported as closely because they are privately held again, which are tremendous. And they're just tremendous, up as much. There are $650 million in sales. At least that's the projection in 2019. And it was even more, we know, in 2020. So great to see that, again, this industry and the biggest guy in the industry, who they're calling, small, little known, quiet company, is taking over some of the big financial news. Fantastic for us.
I just want to comment that apparently, and I take it from the quote, quietly building a board game empire, that means that the Bloomberg business doesn't listen to our podcast.
You know what? That's right.
Because we were talking about this for some time already, right?
That's right. You know what? I should get on to CNBC because that's the one that I watch. I watch CNBC a lot. I should get on there and talk about the hobby gaming industry. Ignacy, that goes back to our point. Who's the best person to be a spokesperson for this industry? That would be Bonacor, the Podfather, right? Don't you agree? You do.
I agree.
All right, everybody, let's get on to strategy and tech. So Red Windmill, at Red Windmill, who didn't have a name, I don't think, in the post, asks what types of things you consider when selecting a box size other than components. Is there a reason the industry hasn't converged on a set of standards? Many boxes seem close enough to each other, but are distinct even when taking into account the thickness of the cardboard. Ignacy, we've talked a little bit about this in the past. There's many reasons why a given company even uses so many different box sizes versus the industry. Do you want any more comment on that and why?
Yeah, I have this brutal knowledge that I always quote because it is mind blowing and players don't believe it, but there is a strict data, and I'm serious. Publishers choose the box size based not only on how many components they want to put into the box, but what will be the minimum suggested retail price, because you customers buy with eyes, and if you see a game that is worth $60, you will not buy it if this is in the small box.
That's right.
This is brutal true. And I say that we have a strict data on that because we have this case in Poland. Publisher Granna, a very big publisher here in Poland, released the game in a one box, and then all they changed was just the size of the box and released it again. And the new release in a bigger box sold better, even though there was exactly the same number of components, exactly the same MSRP, exactly the same cover, just the size. People buy with the eyes, they go to the store, they see the big box, $40, that's okay. If the box would be small, you would not pick it up. This is brutal, but this is how it works. So for us, for Portal Games, we have our sizes for our boxes, And depending on the MSRP, we pick the smaller one or bigger one because we know that this is how you understand the price.
And there's also the added thing in that when you do co-publications, licensing deals, you're going to use the box of the other party because
Correct.
you're printing together. So, and of course, Stronghold Games did so much of that. So I had every possible box size on the market, from the smallest ones, like the 2F Spiele, one deck of cards, sort of. It was like 2 decks of cards, like side by side size boxes, all the way up to, you know,
So Friedman Free is a power grid big one.
The power grid size box, which was long and thin though in like the depth, but then, like, you know, I had the super big size boxes for like my miniatures game. So use them all. So there you go. Sorry, Red Windmill. It's always going to be like that. Little OCD. It's going to kill you. I'm sorry. Clint Brubacken, who's at Ches, he asks, does this post count as a question? So listen, Clint. I know Clint, by the way. That's why. Only reason I even answer, I know Clint, and he's a wise guy, and he comes onto the happy hour every week. I love him. He's a great guy. Thanks, Clint, for coming on happy hour every week. Yes, it counts as a question, but if you would have like been picked randomly in one of our contests, guess what? I would not have allowed you to win for this question. There you go. There's your answer, Clint.
We would send you something so you then know that does it count as an awesome prize, and you would just get like a bag of cookies and that's it.
Yeah, so a piece of paper. Does this count as your prize? Signed by Steven. Andre Lamoro, who's at Logician314. Do you feel there are game mechanics that are overused or underused? And what is your favorite method, if you have one, for introducing randomness to your game? Underused or overused mechanics, Ignacy. I think that there's, I think that the fact that we have this toolbox of mechanics, especially now in the modern game world, that started like in the 90s, let's say, like, right? So modern games started really getting published around the Catan time. Before that, you had some pretty meager mechanics going on there, and they keep evolving. I think it's a toolbox now. I don't think anything is truly underused or overused. It's how you then take them and combine them to make interesting new things. What do you think?
I agree. Like we had this, that something was super trendy. Like we had this year of roll and rides, and at some point everybody was sick of roll and rides. So, but besides like a short period when something is super trendy and everybody wants to do roll and ride, or everybody wants to do a deck building game, but these are like a short periods, and then everything stabilizes, and then we have way beautifully balanced. We have deck building games and area control games, and everybody picks what they want. So I don't feel like we have any mechanism overused besides these short windows when something is super popular, and then everybody's jumping on the mechanism train for like 6 months, and then everything balance out.
Yep, exactly. What's your favorite mechanism, Ignacy, for adding randomness into a game? I mean, it's kind of an interesting question. I think it depends on the game mostly, but for me, I like cards, like card play that turns a game around. But if it's a game of conflict, well, it's going to be dice. On some level, it's going to be dice. What do you think?
Yes, I definitely don't mind dice. I'm a player who loved role-playing games. Then I played miniature games. Yep. Then I discovered board games. So I absolutely love dice. And I see in the forums, I see in the Facebook group, there's so many of you complaining on the dice. The dice are stupid. Dice are random. No, dice are amazing. I love them. I love my dice rolls. And of course, I would not play Puerto Rico with rolling dice. I would not play Agricola with rolling dice. We have to understand that we are playing the game that has a dice, and accept it, enjoy it, and take the all pure joy from this moment of rolling dice. And I have to do it.
Agreed. Kevin Berendt. Hey, Kevin. He asks us questions often at Berensky on Board Game Geek. Ignacy, is it my imagination, or do I recall you saying a while ago that you were working on designing a game with Eric Lang? Can you give us updates? Is that true? I know it is.
Today we reported on a vlog about the game publishing from Eric, and my vlog, my very first episode of my vlog in 2017 was a vlog when Eric was visiting Poland because we were working on a game together. And the game was never published because a few months later, Eric joined Simon for a full-time developer, and the whole project was on hold. And for some time, I was doing it alone, but it was not so cool to work alone on the game. And now Eric left Simon, and this project most likely will be back on the table for us. But at this time, I was finishing Dune, so I had to focus on Dune. Now I have some time. So yes, hopefully this year I will be back working with Eric on the game. Yes, it was a thing, and yet it was freezed for 3 years.
And he also asks me, any plans for expansions to Space Cadets Away missions? And Kevin, while obviously I have no say in what's happening now, I can report that it was not and most likely is not on the radar. Sadly, I would have done an expansion if that was left to my own druthers. I love that game. I love where that game ended up in the end. It was specced out. There was art. There was a bunch of things done for it. But I think in the state of the current market with all of the things that are happening, no, it's probably not going to happen. Sorry. I would like to see it. Anyway, that's all for our strategy and tactics this week. I think we need to get over to playtesting. So in playtesting, ladies and gentlemen, we question you and each other. This is my question, and it riffs on something we started the show with, UFOs and UAPs. Why not? Let's keep it nerdy no matter what. My question to you, Ignacy, and to everybody out there, it's multi-part because it's like yeses and nos. You can answer in any of these things. Do you believe that there is life elsewhere in the universe, even a single microbe? Do you believe that life existed in the past, now or in the past, outside of Earth in our own solar system? Could even be a microbe, Mars, Europa, wherever. Do you believe that another intelligent civilization exists somewhere in the universe? And finally, do you think another intelligent civilization has ever visited Earth? Ignacy, what is your geeky view on this topic?
My geeky view is believing that this space is a freaking big space. So I do believe that there has to be some life because of the statistics. That it has to be some place, and our Earth is amazing, and that everything worked here well for us. And I believe there is some other planets somewhere far, far away that something similar may happen. So I'm not sure, and I don't believe that there was some life of anything like on the Mars or like. I appreciate, of course, us going to the Mars, checking if there's any symptoms of life, but here I don't know. But statistically, far, far away in a different galaxy, like there's so many planets, so many different places, and there has to be someone else somewhere.
So intelligent life someplace else.
Yeah.
Have they visited Earth?
I don't believe it.
Okay. So here's my view. 100%. I would bet my life that there is life elsewhere in the universe, at least microbial life. The numbers, as you say, it's a numbers game. There's 200 billion stars in our galaxy, and almost every one of them has planets because that's been shown now. Even the weirdest kind of stars have planets. Boom. Then there's 100 billion galaxies in the universe.
Yeah, this is my boy. Yeah, this is like,
these numbers are crazy. Okay, so yes, life of some type. And I do think that I'm going to even go and say microbial life at least formed on Mars or on Europa or someplace else. At least microbes. No, nothing higher, not even plants really, but maybe plants, but nothing higher like us or animals in this solar system. Now, going another step. Again, the numbers are just say that intelligent life has to be out there. But the space is so vast, they haven't come here and they can't communicate here. Radio waves take just to get to the nearest star, a radio wave would take 4.5 years, 4.5 light years. So a radio wave just to try to communicate there. So, and that would mean intelligence picks it up and then sends something back. So it's just too hard for them to have been here or them to be communicating, but they're out there. I just don't think they're here. So we'll find out what NASA finds out or what the Department of Defense knows about any kind of these crazy things. So let's take it to you guys now. Ignacy's going to create that. Make sure you take those exact things that I did there, Ignacy, and post that in the thread on Board Game Geek in our guild under a playtesting thread for episode 191, I believe this is, where we are asking you, do you believe there is life elsewhere in the universe, in our solar system? Have they visited us? Multi-part. Make sure you answer them all. It's intriguing. It's not about games, but it's a lot of fun, I think. And now, the final scoring. Thank you all so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts. To ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment, you must post them in the correct thread in our guild on Board Game Geek. And of course, now you'll be able to enter our contest if you do so. To answer our question to you from our playtesting segment, also go to our guild on Board Game Geek and look for the thread with this episode's question. Board Games Insider has a Facebook page, so please like us on Facebook. Also on Facebook, please like Ignacy's page and Steven's page, which is /Portal Publishing and /Podfather Gaming. Our websites are portalgames.pl, portalgamesus.com, and podfathergaming.com. Go there, sign up for the newsletters, get up-to-the-minute information on what's happening at Portal Games and with the Podfather. On social media, you can speak directly to Ignacy and Steven. On Twitter, it's at portalgamesus and at Podfather Gaming. Same on Instagram. And on YouTube, the channel names are Portal Games Movies, Portal Games Gameplays, and the Podfather of Gaming. We hope to see you at an upcoming convention when they start up soon. And if you have a podcast and you like it edited, Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Matthew Jude from This Game is Broken podcast. You can have him edit yours by contacting him on Twitter or in email at thisgameisbrokenpodcast@gmail.com. Ignacy, it's over. Any news that we can share now? Hey, people could be, if they're looking at me, they can see this wonderfully branded The Podfather of Gaming shirt that I'm wearing. And guess what? I got lots of them in a great sale at queensboro.com where I get my shirts. You're going to be seeing a bunch of these, and they're very sexy. They're this like sport tech, nice, stretchy. Don't I look sexy? Come on. You know I do. No, he's shaking his head.
Tom Vassell, do you hear us? Please don't remove us from the network. This is Ignacy, please.
Anything else you want to share, or we'll just move right on?
I just want to say thank you for everybody who supported the campaign for Robinson Crusoe, and I want to announce the biggest announcement of this podcast. I'm taking vacation for the first time in the history of the podcast. So I will take a few weeks off. I will be still recording podcast because it's just pure fun for me. So this is not the work.
Good.
But I'm not coming to work. So in an upcoming episode, I will report some gaming. That's new.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think that's great. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you in a week.